In the following video, I talk to Amanda Noelle, aka Aphrodites Apprentice. She is a transpersonal counsellor and coach, or perhaps we can refer to her as a soulmating fairy, which I think sounds really nice and describes exactly what she does. This really is a fascinating interview and a must listen for anyone who has wondered how to draw that conscious, creative, romantic relationship into their life. I'm very pleased to introduce Aphrodites Apprentice. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining me today for this interview.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Excellent. Lovely to have you here. Okay, so Amanda, your website is called aphroditesapprentice.com. And I know that you refer to yourself as perhaps a soulmating coach or a professional soulmating fairy, I think is on your website, and an apprentice to Aphrodite. Now, to me, that conjures up images of working with the divine feminine and working perhaps with women to empower them to find their conscious relationships, soulmate relationships, to find their twin flames. Is that what your work is about?
Yes, it actually is. And it happens sort of from the reverse experience of becoming a very masculine sort of person in the world, growing up in a culture that rewarded achievement, linear, practical university, and hardworking work ethic. And I actually had a burnout very young. And it caused me to just kind of surrender to what was, and what came through was literally like this bright pink wave of light when I was having a healing crisis and I got to go deep into meditation. And it made sense because I'm totally attracted to all things pink and feminine. And even though I was trying to wear this masculine kind of facade and wearing all black and being, very sporty and seeming like I was very confident and powerful on the inside, it turns out I was kind of this feminine creature in hiding and had this very loving kind of nurturing maternal vibration that I always was like, no, I hope that's not me. And as I guess I would say, as I went through my 20s, I found out that I had something that I called the Aphrodite's touch. And Aphrodite's touch actually was told to me by a boyfriend at the time. And he said, I met somebody like you years ago who, whenever she would enter a room, she would make people fall in love with each other, or she would introduce people, or she would date somebody and fix them up, and they would be all radiant, glowing, and get through some of their wounding, and then they would attract their soulmate. And I went, oh my goodness, I think you're right. I think that's me. And so over the last, I guess, decade or so, I've soulmated a lot of couples naturally, and it wasn't even intentional. I was working as an esthetician, putting myself through my PhD program, and I realized, oh my goodness, all of my single female clients are in divine union. And they weren't only kind of, oh, they're with a nice boyfriend. It was like this specific um, energetic vibration between them that I now know as the twin flame vibration. So this calling has actually called me, and I kind of tried to shake it off. And why is this following me? What am I doing? I don't even want a boyfriend right now. I just want to go and travel, and I just want to, go into my metaphysical studies. I just want to do my own thing. But it was following me, and now that I've finished my doctorate in transpersonal counseling, it just became very clear to me that this is not only a fun thing or a coincidence, it's something that I'm meant to be doing on the planet. And it is something that is very focused on the divine feminine, but it's actually balancing that vibration with the divine masculine through the vibration of unconditional love, the 0 point and oneness.
Wow. So a title for you could perhaps be Cosmic Matchmaker or Divine Matchmaker or something like that.
I think so, and the the blessing and the hexing, I call it a blessing of being one of Aphrodite's apprentices, is Aphrodite's vibration. The divine feminine in general is so dynamic, so vast, that it took me literally a year to come up with a name, and I've changed it many times, and I will probably have many incarnations of what I call my title, and I have so much fun with it. And I think it's often confused people because they're, what do I call you? How do I, you have a different business card every couple of weeks. And I love updating my website as WordPress, so I can update it all the time. And it's just shape shifting as often as I am, which is a lot of fun.
Yes, and I know what you mean. It is difficult to find a name that describes you when you do so many different things in that energy. I'm the same. I've changed my title from ascension coach to intuitive consultant, and then people say, "Well, what's that?" So perhaps I'll try something else. But on your website, it says, you move people, women predominantly, from single to soulmated. You magically help women attract and marry their twin flames. So I mean, has this happened a lot for you? Have you actually, you know, seen this happen over and over with women who are, as you say, not just in a relationship with, a nice person, but these are actual divine matches where people are meeting the energetic match and they are connecting with the twin flame counterpart. That's happening, and you're witnessing it, and you are facilitating this.
Yes, in fact, it's happened enough times to realize that it's not a coincidence, and there's actually kind of a process that happens, and I feel it viscerally in my body. There's usually a healing interaction that I have on an energetic level, and usually a conversational level with the woman presenting herself to me. And it's happened with men too, but I've been working a lot with women over about the last 10 years. And the thing that has been sort of the litmus test of, is it a twin flame union, as before they meet their partner, or right around the time they're meeting their partner, I'll feel goosebumps in my whole body. And they literally are real goosebumps that I see the hair raise on my arms, and I feel it all over my body. And it's really cool because oftentimes this person will come back and call me up or come and see me and say, "Oh my gosh, I have to tell you about this amazing partner." And it's like, I already knew it happened because I'm starting to feel it, like this magnetic pull inside of my own inner crystal. So yes, it's happened a lot, and it was so delightful to go to several twin flame weddings over the last, I'd say last year. Um, and the difference between a twin flame wedding and sort of a, soulmate without necessarily a twin flame frequency, is, it's just the whole room or the whole group feels it. And usually there's a lot of emotion and deep, I would say, healing that goes out even to the audience, the crowd. I actually helped to soulmate one of my very best friends from my childhood last year, and my family has gone to many weddings, and nobody really cries, or maybe they dab their eyes, but this twin flame love that was coming through the couple, and the couple was also just, totally, grateful for the grace of God, or, the higher power. And my family and everybody in the whole audience was totally, you could hear we were literally trying to hold back, loud crying, because we were just so blessed by this love that was, I was going to say in the room, but it was actually in the circling of redwoods. And it was just so beautiful. And I thought, wow, I actually heard an inner voice or a higher self voice say, this is going to be the new model for marriage, the twin flame vibration. And that's why so many um, couples have gotten divorced over, the last 50 years or so. The divorce rate has gone up to, I think, around 50%. And it's gone up, and then now it's starting to go down. And part of it is because people are realizing that they don't need to just partner up with, somebody for financial reasons or because they should. And so especially women are starting to become much more picky, and realize they really want to be with someone for, all the right reasons, for a heart connection, for a deep emotional connection. And it's just so exciting to be attending these weddings. And um, it's happened a fair amount. I was actually working as an esthetician, a holistic esthetician, for about the last 5 years before I graduated from my doctorate program. And it was so much fun to give a woman a facial and speak to her about life and get to know her and say, hey, I just have this really strong intuition that I'm supposed to give you an aura healing and a chakra clearing. And I know this may sound crazy to you because you're here for your pimples to be popped and your wrinkles to be massaged. But hey, would you be interested? I just have this feeling. And then they would go, well, of course, if you have intuition, I'll trust that. And so while they would have their clay mask on or whatnot, I would wave my hands through their aura and feel around for pockets, and I would get this intuitive guidance. And I had a couple of clients that within their next facial or two would come back and say they had met their twin flame. And it was something that I would take out of their aura in the first healing that usually had to do something with early childhood programs. And the energy there was going to create a pattern of unharmonized relationships. Either they would attract a partner who would not be a right match and they would try and make it work, or they would just not have an opportunity to even attract a partner. And once I cleared that, just like dusting off a crystal, they were sparkling and radiant. And also their heart was like, hey, I have a heart now. Like I can go and do this. And they would just have this confidence. And so that's been happening in my twin flame counseling and healing work. And it really is like magic. But what it is it's simply allowing a woman to come back into her state of the divine feminine. And the divine feminine attracts. Men are hunters, women are gatherers. We have this kind of black hole like energy that gathers the light towards us. So it's kind of neat. One of my favorite stories is a friend of mine who decided, oh, I'll just go on an online dating site. And she dated the first guy and married him. And he goes, hey, this isn't fair. I was on this website for like 6 years, because she had this energy of, oh, I'm ready now. I'm ready to attract the right guy. And that's kind of how it should be. It should be, women just showing up like the flower with her beautiful nectar, sweet honey, and have the bee just, sniff her out and hunt for her. Versus in this world where there's a lot of masculine energy with women, we tend to go, oh, I got to go out and, look really nice and go socialize and network. And this energy can actually repel men away because inherently they kind of do want to hunt a woman down. So that's something I help women out with in their coaching.
Wow, that's just fantastic. I do know what you mean when you talk about the twin flame union and the twin flame couple. I've actually got, I think, perhaps two or three couples I know, three I can think of offhand, that are about to get married, and that those weddings are taking place this year, and they're twin flame couples. And what I notice with them is they're so happy, and the union is it's almost like a sacred bubble. And although they share themselves with everyone, and because they are happy and open and are in service, that bubble is just so sacred between the two of them. It can't be penetrated by any outside force. Even if challenges come the couple's way, that bubble is just such a union with the divinity, as in the male aspect, the female aspect, and the divinity between them is like almost as though they're sharing the same higher self aspect in that sense. So I know what you mean. And as I said, I know of three weddings, twin flame weddings coming up this year. And if any of those people are listening, I wish you all the luck. And I think it's fantastic that you found each other. So on your website, you're talking about the process that someone has to go through before this happens. And on your website, it says that a woman needs to fall in love with herself first, and then she becomes a soulmate magnet, and then Mr. Right magically appears. Can you explain more about that process? And also, another question on top, is it the same process for men, or is there a different technique for them?
Those are great questions. So becoming a soulmate magnet really is about marrying the divine feminine with the divine masculine within oneself. And so a woman goes about doing this a bit differently than a man in general. And actually, each person does it differently. So your friend may do it this way and it totally works for her. So that's why just acknowledging the internal process as a unique process is so important. But there are some general tendencies that make a woman's process different than a man's. We grow up in a culture where there's some sacred wounds around being a woman that just aren't there as much in the same way, and vice versa. For a man, there are going to be some sacred wounds that are going to be different from women's stories. So let's see where to start with becoming a soulmate magnet. Like I said with the crystal, and I do like to kind of compare the soulmate, or should I say the twin flame frequency, with that of a crystal. So the crystal, each crystal has its own unique frequency. And when the crystal is broken apart, it will still have its own frequency that was from its original creation, but it'll also have a left and a right part, the feminine and the masculine part. And when these two souls separate, they go off and they have different physical incarnations. And say in this life, I work with female clients, they're going to have a different vibration from their twin flame out there. And so and I love the symbol of the yin and the yang because it's broken down into an infinite number of holographic mini yin yang. So the male and the female side have a male and a female side within each of the male and female sides. So within polarity, there's polarity, and it goes on forever. So within the feminine, there has been a lot of wounding over the last, I would say 3,000 years is what I've gotten in meditations and dreams, that we've sort of forgotten the divine feminine or the goddess energy within the God-goddess union. You know, there's a left and a right, there's a dark and a light, and so on and so on. So it's only until it's been since the 1960s that we've gone, oh, wait a minute. Women are kind of awesome and in like every single way. And so we've been undoing a lot of myths about, the divine feminine is weak. The divine feminine isn't as good as the divine masculine. There's a whole lot of unconscious rubble that we have to sort through oftentimes that comes through ancestral lines. It comes through our early childhood programming. And it can get revalidated over and over again, through our early childhood schooling, through siblings, through, bullies at school. And then it kind of repeats itself, and we find ourselves as adults attracting partners that revalidate the way that we feel about our own divine feminine and divine masculine. And so a lot of times I'll have women come to me who have been attracting the wrong guys, or maybe they're attracting wonderful men, but just there isn't this long-term twin flame connection. And usually there is almost, I would call it a program that's built in them, almost like a computer virus or something that repeats itself unconsciously. And the great thing that we've realized, and I've seen it in my own life, is that it's actually a blessing. Your biggest nightmare, your biggest dark night of the soul, or your biggest insecurity, it's actually one of your biggest assets. And so when we can kind of reframe it and learn from the lesson and turn it into a blessing, we find out that there's actually this whole new energy of light. And usually that is what attracts the twin flame to come in really quickly. It's like, if you imagine this coal, this coal that has a lot of pressure on it, it's like the diamond comes out, and then you have this bright sparkle, which attracts people. Oh, that's so gorgeous! I want to pick that up and put it on my ring finger. So that's a lot of the work that I do, and I've seen it go very quickly with clients because they've always had a desire to meet their twin flame since they were a little girl, since they were young children. And it was like a calling bigger than themselves and bigger than maybe, they've always wanted a career and they've always wanted a house, but they were like, if I don't meet my twin flame before my dying day, I'll just feel incomplete and I know I'll have to come back. So that's like something so powerful. And even though we're all going, oh, I don't want to deal with all this ancestral programming and this depression or this limitation or the dark, energy in my field that I just want to run away from and shut down and hide. The twin flame longing is so deep and so passionate right now, especially in the 2012 year of ascension. And I call it actually the year of the twin flame because I do see so many people awakening to their twin flame frequency, either meeting their twin flame or just waking up and realizing that their twin flame is out there and that they are willing to do this processing evolution, soul evolution, in order to meet their other half, versus maybe in the past they would have gone, as long as I'm with a cuddly person who, has a good job and a steady head on his shoulders, or she's got a good body and she's nice and she can be a good mother. Like those things are seeming so much less important. They're going into the background, and deep soul love and twin flame love is becoming important. So yes, once these kind of diamonds in the rough, or the coal becoming the diamond, is coming out, we realized that that weight on our shoulders was actually, it was almost like a game or a challenge that we wanted to overcome. As a soul, we know everything. We're, tuned into our higher self, yet we have this sort of amnesia in our physical incarnations. And so it's like so exciting to go, wait a minute, if I wake up, I can wake up and I'll be next to my beloved. That's such a great reward. And so it becomes almost like this magical treasure hunt, looking for that diamond, that buried ancient jewel that, you know, even though we know it's there and we even have the treasure map and subconsciously we know where the jewel is already, it's like this process, this game of, oh, I don't remember anything. How can I find my beloved? And then the universe supplies you through the law of attraction with your partner, but you can only get there by going through the motions, going through the journey of kind of clearing out all the energy from past lives, clearing out all the old blockages of family trauma energy or ancestral histories. A lot of, oh my goodness, about 2 years ago, every past life that I would help clear, and I do past life regression therapy, and I also do just past life readings by, looking at the Akashic records and finding out what in their current lifetime is coming up as a bleed through from the past. And what was so interesting is that I was looking at these past lives in all different people, men, women, people of different ages, and they were working past life energy that was coming up also through their ancestral line that had to do with raping and pillaging of pagan people, either tribal people in tropical islands or pagans in, say, Sweden, of women that were being raped and pillaged. And they would have this new child born. And this is historically proven that war would happen and, divide and conquering. And they would basically take the blood lineage and merge with this new tribal group with this kind of Viking energy or colonist energy, and that you'd have a hybrid child. And that's us, right? That's all of us, you, me, and all the listeners on this call. We are here today because of a history of a merging of the pagan and the conqueror. And we have that within us. We have the very earth-centric, in touch with the cycles of natures and astrology and this ancient memory of that we are one with the planet. And then we have this kind of conquer and divide energy. And no matter how much we hate it, we love it, it's us. And so I was clearing a lot of these past lives. And that was one of the amazing things that I started to see the twin flames match on a much quicker level when we could kind of forgive the conquerors and forgive the warriors within us and realize that they really just wanted love. They didn't know how to get it, so they had to kind of grab the divine feminine by the hair. And now we're kind of syncing the energy of these two sides, almost like the left and the right brain. So I know I went on kind of a rant, and I'm very passionate about this. So I want to give you time to see if there's a next question or if anything came up.
Okay, I'd just like to say that, your energy really does exude that twin flame consciousness in yourself, that divine feminine empowerment, um, the mastery that you found within that vibration. And so it's natural in your ability to share that with others. It really comes across in your energy when you talk. And when you said that 2012 is the year of the twin flame, that you call this the year of the twin flame, I would completely agree. The nine have said to me that this is the year when the twin flames are coming together, and the reason for that is so many people are reaching that point of empowerment, that point of falling in love with themselves, where they're complete and whole and have dealt with all those past life issues and everything else that you're talking about. And when they come to that place, then they naturally, magnetically attract everything to them that matches their own vibration, which is a vibration of bliss and love and joy, and moving into healing and teaching and mastery. So, one question I would like to put to you, what I'm seeing with my own clients, as I said, there are about 3 twin flame couples that I know of that are about to get married, which is wonderful. But that isn't the most common story right now, with my own work and the clients that I see. I would say that predominantly, oh, crumbs, maybe 80% of my clients, and they have much to ask me, and it's all to do with their spiritual path and career and everything, but often there will be a question about relationships, and that's very, very common in the clients that I have. They do ask these questions within this whole twin flame vibration. The most common pattern that I am seeing right now, and it's mostly women, although I have to say I do have several men clients, male clients, in the same situation. The situation I'm talking about is a little bit of a triangle here. So we've got um, a, one couple in a very healthy, conscious relationship, often a marriage, very much in love, often have children and work together and have ties and have no interest in separating. And they have a better relationship than the average relationship on this planet. They're very in tune. But you've got one partner that is standing within that fifth dimensional energy, falling in love with themselves, embracing that wholeness, and the other partner perhaps isn't quite at that same vibrational place. So what's happening is that one partner that is moving into that wholeness, they are attracting the twin flame aspect into their life while they're still in a relationship with someone else. And often that relationship can be a soulmate relationship that also has the synchronicities and all the richness that goes with a soulmate connection. And often they, as I said, they're married, they're very happy, they don't want to leave their partner, but they do then meet the twin flame. And I'm seeing this an awful lot, mostly with women, and I do have male clients in the same situation. So, what would you say to somebody who comes along and says to you, look, I'm in a really happy relationship, I love my partner, but I've just met my twin flame and it's completely surprised me and it's blown me away and I don't know what to do? What would you say?
I would first, kind of hold their hand and say, this must be really a hard thing to go through. A lot of compassion for that experience. It's definitely, maybe not necessarily one right answer. And I would sit with the person and figure out, what feels best for them. I would also encourage them to really go inwards towards themselves, because we are, creating our universe. Our own internal universe is reflected by the quote unquote external universe. Of course, there's only oneness. But if she is manifesting or he is manifesting this scenario, um, we would look at, why she's created this sort of duality world where she's got her, home and family and stability um, within this one encapsulated relationship. And then she's got her spiritual energy going out, maybe a higher dimensional spiritual energy going out through another potential partner out there, her twin flame. So I would probably assume that these women or these people are maybe just starting to wake up spiritually in in terms of integrating their spiritual world into every aspect of their life. This is very common right now on this planet, where a lot of us light workers have in the past had to take jobs in order to make ends meet, and we had to get married, or we had to live our day-to-day life in a maybe a 50% spiritual way. And the higher dimensional aspects of ourself are coming in so much clearer now that it's like magnetically we're being swept out. Like, no, I have to quit this day job and I have to work in something that calls my heart. I have to be in a relationship that calls my soul. So there probably are going to be some parallels in her, from her love life, in her work life, in her emotional life, in her relationship dynamic, family. Maybe she isn't completely expressing her true spiritual essence in all aspects of her life. So there may be this sort of distortion rather than an integration. So we would look at the root cause and ask, if you're really here, if your sole purpose on this planet is to let your light shine bright unconditionally, maybe there's some areas in your life where you're not completely integrating your spirituality and your work life, your spirituality and your life with your children. Are you kind of in the closet about your spiritual beliefs and what you're here to do on the planet? Is that really being realized? And is that even being married into your masculine through your money space? In the past, women were stay-at-home moms all the time, and there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. I look forward to staying at home with my kids when I have them in the future for at least a short period. But I definitely feel a past history of women at home, in the kitchen, kind of severed a woman's ties to really be married to the financial system, and her power wasn't fully integrated with her spirituality. Now there are a lot of women coming into their power, and we are creating socially conscious businesses. I work with a woman who owns a yoga studio, and she's infusing her love into that. Instead of working in the corporate world, she's helping corporate people do yoga, and she's devoted her life to, spiritual practice and business. And so I think this is sort of the merging of the masculine and the feminine. And there's this awkward kind of growth period that we're going through as a collective, as a community on the planet of, before soulmate was enough. Now we're waking up into the twin flame frequency of 2012, and here on out, this is going to be the mainstream, the norm. And so there's this kind of awkward period where it's like, well, the past was, this secure life and everything seemed to be good enough, and now all of a sudden nothing seems to fit anymore. It's like you need to buy a whole new outfit. Transitioning from the soulmate relationship into a twin flame relationship is not necessarily an easy one. The twin flame awakening process can be very delightful. It can also be very painful. There can be a lot of trauma, drama, things to resolve. So I would encourage these women or these people in this scenario to really come back into their own center, to not focus so much on the results of how can I get into a relationship that works for me, but first go into the heart and clear out what's going on in there. And then I think from there, the outside world will seem more clear.
Okay, thank you for such a helpful response to that question. I'd also like to ask you, you've got several videos on your YouTube channel, and I've noticed some of them are quite poetic and really creative. Others are about meditations. Can you tell me a little bit about what your YouTube videos are about? If anyone would like to go and take a look at them.
Well, my blissness birthing, I call my business a blissness because it's absolutely an infusion of my passion and desires to see, women falling in love with their twin flame, and for there to be more twin flame relationships on the planet. So my blissness has been a total kind of, it's like I'm falling in love with my own twin flame, my blissness being my twin. And so the YouTube videos have been very organic in their development. I literally started doing videos on my couch, just saying anything because I was so delighted to speak freely from the heart. And in the past, I've been somebody who really edited herself, the words she said. I've been a writer for about 10 years, and I started out, re-editing everything I said down to the point where I was going crazy and I didn't even want to, publish it because I was so hard on myself too. Having this blissness as Aphrodite's apprentice, I just got the very strong intuition now that I've opened my divine feminine, which is focused on intuition, is that it's okay to speak from the heart. So you'll probably notice sort of an incarnation or an evolution, I should say, in my videos. And I'm starting to come much more into my own power, which is so wonderful because before I was kind of, oh, I'm helping to, create all these twin flame relationships, but I'm kind of just watching them happen. And now I feel like I'm really aligning with them. And I'm actually myself, just on a kind of personal side note, I have a lot of clients ask me, hey, have you met your twin flame? And my mother met her twin flame, my father, when she was 32. And actually, they're about 3 weeks apart. And they had me when they were a little bit older. They were 37. And so I just turned 32 this year, and something turned on inside of me. It was almost like a genetic thing of like, oh, this is your year to, to really wake up to your twin flame and possibly attract him. And so I've been in that process myself of attracting the twin flame. And as I've even made my videos, I'm kind of going like, how free and crazy do I want to be? And how, how much do I want to share personally? Or should I just, make a video that's more a how-to? And so there's kind of an array of things on my YouTube videos. And lately, my last two videos have been very carefree, and there's something I'm very passionate about, which I felt like sharing with the world, and at the same time was deathly afraid of doing it, which is dance. I love to dance, and I've learned to, I jokingly call it a dance-gasm, where I channel cosmic and earth energy into my physical body, and I kind of have a chakra spin out, and it's almost like, literally, it's like making love to the cosmos and Gaia's energy, and I shoot out this love into the space that I'm dancing in or in nature, and I thought, people may think I'm a nutcase, but maybe they won't. Maybe they'll see the energy, so I'm going to do this on a YouTube video. So I started to do my little dances. I don't know if you've seen any of those, but they're pretty fun, and it's all just channeled movement. And then I also do a lot of channeling in the videos. The last couple of videos I've just downloaded from my higher dimensional self and really tuning into the divine feminine, words that help guide people into attracting their twin flame. And it's interesting because the words come to me often in sort of a rhyme or a poetic way, but it's not really intentional. It just comes out. And the way I speak sometimes is like that too. I really like to play with words, and I'm a wordplay writer. So it's a whole lot of fun to share the videos, and they're definitely coming along, and I look forward to mastering them like you do someday, or I aspire to that. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Well, I love your videos and I know what you mean. It's channeling does have a poetic, creative energy to it. I've had people look at my videos who aren't particularly into channeling, if you like, and they've said, "Oh, it's like poetry," so it has that creative edge. But I think your videos specifically have the twin flame energy within them. So when it comes to what I would call keys and codes, the viewer is accessing keys and codes of the cosmic love, the twin flame energy, and the sexuality, the higher divine sexuality that comes out of your videos. And that brings me to my next question. Sexuality itself, do you feel it goes beyond the physical level, as in sexuality, male, female come together to reprocreate the species? Do you feel that sexuality, especially between the divine couple, the twin flame couple, is a doorway or a stargate into higher connection, into the union with the higher self, into triggering Kundalini experience and firing the pineal gland into visionary states? Do you feel that that's what the union between the male and female energy is all about?
Well, the first part of your question, or I just wanted to mention about the videos, is actually I've been guided to create the last couple of videos as actual activations. So I wasn't actually aware of it as it was happening, but when I was editing the videos, I realized that the videos will actually activate people, and that's really what I have as, um, whether I like it or not. I've got the flexing of being Aphrodite's apprentice, and no, I really do love it. But I do notice that I have this natural activation energy that, and it's happened kind of my whole life. Even when I was a child, it wasn't only with twin flame love, but it was just kind of a loving energy. And it was always confusing because sometimes I was actually kind of persecuted or teased or abused for having this light. And I think a lot of light workers share this. But the videos, if one is willing and open to receiving a twin flame, and even the words that I channel at times, they really can reconfigure the vibrational aspect, and clear out wounds. I love your second question, or the second part of the question, which um, couldn't quite word it as beautifully as you did, but yes, absolutely. I think it's almost the chicken or the egg. Is it? Are we activating the pineal gland and then accessing the twin flame frequency, or are we, desiring a twin flame and then this is the side effect? I think when we get to the 0 point is the intersection of the masculine and the feminine, and it goes beyond gender. It goes beyond sex. Um, it's more of a frequency. There are definitely gay and lesbian couples that are twin flames, and um, it can also be expressed in relationships that are not in marriage. Divine union can happen in many different ways, though if one really does feel called to having a lifelong partner as a twin flame, then there tends to be an agreement where that they can sustainably stay together throughout life without really needing to be with other partners, because or at least energetically really involved with other partners. I know that there are couples out there that are polyamorous, or they'll have an agreement of having more of an open relationship. I tend to work with more monogamous couples, but I have seen how that can work as long as the divine union is kept energetically very clean and committed. The soulmate or the twin flame path is a parallel one. So if somebody loses a job and needs to relocate, usually the other twin flame will have some other agreement in another location. So their lives can very comfortably stream together throughout the planet, throughout whatever time and space and circumstances and challenges. It's like they're meant to overcome them and streamline through them together. Um, so I don't know if that answered all of your questions. The pineal gland is a very interesting one. Have you seen that in yourself and in your clients, where the twin flame energy sort of does open up the third eye?
I think you've answered the question absolutely perfectly. And talking about the intersection being the 0 point, absolutely. The Kundalini raising and the activation of the pineal gland creates the twin flame consciousness, because that's when you're moving into the accessing of the higher states, especially if the heart is open at the same time and you're balancing the chakras, and it works vice versa as well. So that is the 0 point intersection. It's a oneness, and I think that's a perfect answer. And you also answered my next question, which was, obviously we've discussed the female energy working with women and with men, and my next question was about homosexual relationships, and can the twin flame be found within that? And you've answered that question as well. So fantastic. I do have one more question, and what that is, do you bring into your work or with your clients nutritional programs that balance with this energy? Because what I wanted to know is, if somebody is wanting to attract the twin flame into their life by raising the consciousness to that beautiful sort of place of wholeness, if they are, you know, smoking cigarettes or eating junk food or eating foods that they have allergies or intolerances to, does that affect this process? I mean, are there any foods that are twin flame foods, like a strawberry or plums or apples, or, are there any foods for the twin flame attraction energy?
There are some wonderful foods that can bring out the divine feminine and also the divine sexual. And this kind of goes back to the question you had about sexuality, sacred sexuality in connection with the twin flame. So just to kind of go a little bit deeper with the question in regards to nutrition. So sexuality, sacred sexuality is simply the 0 point, the unification in harmony of the masculine and the feminine. And so this can reflect in all different aspects, the masculine and the feminine in food energetics. I am a certified nutrition consultant with a background in TCM nutrition, which is traditional Chinese nutrition. And while living in China for 2 years, in my mid 20s, I studied and apprenticed with a traditional Chinese nutrition doctor who's third generation doctor, Dr. Zhang. Her grandfather and father taught her so much about every little fruit, plant, sprout, and herb. And it was amazing to me. And I bothered her about all of the things she knew. And I learned a lot about the energetic properties of plants. And I realized that each plant has within it a yin and a yang, but some plants tend to be more yin and yang than others, yin or yang. And same with any type of food, meat, vegetable, grain. And so definitely each person has you can do Ayurveda, you can do Chinese medicine, you can do Western nutrition therapy, anything that really resonates with you to get your body in balance. I love particularly the traditional Chinese nutrition because it does look at the thermodynamics. You know, is this more heating? Does it bring your energy outward, or does it bring it more inward like a diuretic? So harmonizing the individual does allow them to be in their 0 point. So if somebody has really red skin tone and they have a lot of acne and they have a really loud voice and they're restless and they're full of aggression and they need to calm down, then I'll prescribe foods for them that cause them to be more yin, more balanced. So I'll bring the energy inward and downward. For example, green tea is a wonderful thing if you have acne, if you have a lot of toxins, if you've had a lot of stress. A lot of women I work with have yin burnout where they've been on the computer, they've been traveling too much, working too hard. So a common supplement for them is going to be fish oil. And I love fish oil as Aphrodites Apprentice. Aphrodite was born from the heavens into the sea, and she came from the Aphros, the sea foam. And so she has a very deep connection to Gaia through the ocean. And fish are a very sacred memory of the ocean. And when we have fish oil, it actually protects the lipid membrane around each of our cells in our body. Every cell in our body has this lipid membrane. When we're deficient in omega-3s, the main component of fish oil, we can't hold the water. So no matter how much water we drink or no matter how much skincare products we use on our skin, we're going to always have that dryness of our cells that can affect the digestion, sleep, mood, stress, anxiety. So getting a woman back in her yin state is actually going to make her more sexy, more confident, more calm and balanced. Her speech will be clearer. So that's going to be more appealing to the twin flame on a really practical, rational level. So yes, I do have this background in nutrition, and I find that just starting with the basics, getting more veggies in, getting more exercise in for someone who's not necessarily taking care of their health, that's enough. And for my clients that have more of an advanced knowledge with nutrition, we can kind of tinker with food prescriptions, plant prescriptions, teas, and things like that, and supplements that will get them balanced so that they can align with their twin flame.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree with you more. I personally feel that the nutritional path is part of the spiritual path. That's the physical aspect, and it is a holistic energy. And if you want to attract the twin flame, you need to get into that zone to be able to do it. And the physical aspect is part of that, and nutrition is that path. And it's all one. It's all one. You can't sort of just do some of it and leave bits out. It is a holistic energy to bring you into that alignment. So fantastic answer. And I didn't know that about you regarding the nutrition.
Just wanted to say that detoxing nutritionally is also one of the things that I do and I see is really helpful. And intuitively, I think a lot of couples before they align with each other, or even after they meet, doing nutritional cleanses where they can release heavy metals that impede the electromagnetic field, including things like colonics, and I offer ionic foot baths. Ionic foot baths are always amazing to watch all the little toxins come out through the water in your feet and into the bath. And doing things like that while being on the juices and eliminating a lot of the basic foods that kind of attract energy to absorb, like meat, dairy, things that are hard to digest, gluten, wheat, oats, barley, rye, flours, and getting back into those whole veggies and juices from fruits and things like that, and sprouting. Designing personalized nutrition detox diets can actually really raise the vibration so quickly that I've actually decided to write a book on detoxing and doing nutrition clearing for twin flame attraction. It's going to be called the soulmate diet, and that came to me when I was in meditation. So I'm so excited to see what comes out of that. And I find that when we're inspired to love ourselves, it's so much more effective, because food can be one of those things where you go, oh, if I don't have the cookie, I feel deprived. But when you're going, oh, I can nourish myself with delicious, fresh pressed vegetables and juices, and have a whole variety of delicious antioxidants during my cleanse, because I love the idea of attracting my twin flame. It's so much more exciting than punishment of, no, you can't have this. So, using the twin flame kind of as a metaphor in general to stay in your balance and stay cleansed and clear of lower vibrational energies. And then, of course, we go back to the holistic way of eating, including all the foods that we like in a balanced way for the
Well,
long.
that makes sense, really. If you're writing a book, The Soulmate Diet, that makes sense about this question, because I suddenly got, as I was writing a few questions down that I would like to ask you and just going through things in my mind before our interview, I strongly got from the nine to ask you about nutritional programs, and it's not something you and I had ever discussed, so that makes sense. So wonderful, the Soulmate Diet, great. So let me know when that's published and out on the market. So I just felt to ask that question, and I'm really, really pleased. And what a lovely interview this has been. And, I would say to anyone who's listening who wants to move into this empowerment, have a conscious relationship in their life, or speak to someone about accessing that divine feminine, finding that 0 point place, do get in touch with Amanda. And how can people do that? I know you have a free newsletter that people can sign up for on your website. So if a client wants to come and see you, what's the best way to contact you? Is it your website, aphroditesapprentice.com?
That's definitely one way, and my information is up on there. They can send me a direct email to amanda@aphroditesapprentice.com. I'm also up on Facebook at Aphrodites Apprentice. So either way, they'll be able to get in touch, and I'll be delighted.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Amanda, for agreeing to do this interview today. It's been absolutely lovely.
Oh, my pleasure, Magenta. It's been a delight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye.